Kerry Thomas Cody.
And we are
The
Skull Crawlers. Not so great this time. And we ask you to suspend disbelief, the show where we invite you to open your mind and expand your horizons as we discuss the paranormal, taboo, and otherwise mysterious occurrences in our universe. In tonight's episode, we are joined by our first guest of the podcast ever, Cedric Sweet. Is that what you're going to go by? Cedric Sweet.
Yeah, buddy.
And he's going to share with us some creepy stories, and we're going to share some stories as well.
Yes. Cedric, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, please.
Talk about yourself. Brag about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I like long walks, and I'm joking.
Yeah.
So, I go by Chief Sweet online. I have a YouTube channel. I have many YouTube channels, but I also stream. I just have like kind of like, you know, an online presence, I guess. And
you're killing it online.
I recently...
Yeah, you're killing it.
I recently
on there.
streamed for Xbox. It was pretty crazy.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. I was invited. I streamed on there for a bit.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that. You streamed
About
for
the
Xbox?
Yeah, they invited me. They wanted me to represent them for International World Indigenous Peoples Day, and I went on there.
Sick.
Yeah,
so
I got to...
Cedric is native as well.
Yes.
What tribe are you, Cedric?
I'm Seminole Nation.
Aho, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, buddy.
Good job.
Oklahoma Seminoles, not the Florida. I'm not rich. I'm not rich.
oh, God, man. None of us are here in Oklahoma, man. Unless you're Chickasaw.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they got it made.
They
Well,
do.
welcome, man. It's good to have another native on the show. We're excited to hear some stories and get back to our roots.
Cedric, you'll occasionally hear a third voice. That's our producer, Dylan. So, just
Yes.
letting you know. Dylan,
Sounds
introduce
good.
yourself.
Oh, I'm Dylan.
There you go.
Dylan's Dylan.
Yeah, I just...
Shout out to Dylan.
What's
Yeah,
up?
shouts out
Shout
to
out.
Dylan.
I also play video games, and no one cares when I do. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right, next time we'll have a Dylan-centric episode.
Absolutely not.
You should. That would be actually interesting.
The man behind the camera.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, the man behind the camera talks.
God. So, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and the creepy culture behind the Seminoles and some of the creatures and stuff that you guys believe in, because my people, Kyle, we're from southwest part of Oklahoma, so our creatures and spirits and ghosts and stuff are a little different than people up northeast side of Oklahoma. So
I gotcha, yeah. So, growing up in Seminole, Oklahoma, you always heard stories of these things called Stikinis, and all that means is owl. It just means, it's literally the word translate to owl. But they call them that as like shapeshifter medicine men who would like come and like do all kinds. The stories behind them, like when I hear that, I always wanted to make it a scary movie because it's like the most absolutely terrifying thing you could ever hear. Like they say they would like shapeshift. And they would
nightmare fuel,
go,
man.
Yeah, they would come up to like people's windows and like tell them like, "Hey, can you let me in?" And it would be like exactly their voice of like their dad or their parent or their brother.
Like
and then
so and stuff.
Yeah, and then
trying to get in like
they let them in
too, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard another name for them is like the vampire owls.
yes,
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
So cool.
And there's all kinds of stories of like what they look like if they shapeshift. Like there might be like an owl, and there's like their face is sitting in the owl's chest, and they like hide it, and then, like if you see it, they might open it up, and their face will be like sitting there. I've heard all kinds of stories, you know.
That's crazy.
Dang, dude. I mean, we grew up in Tecumseh, not too far away from Seminole, so I remember hearing like Stikini, the word Stikini thrown around and stuff like that, but I didn't really know what it meant until I was an adult.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Like I'm Shawnee, and like I don't think we have much creatures or anything like it, but I've heard of Stikinis, and I know it's not a Shawnee word, but just like the myth of like I always heard like, oh yeah, if somebody like ever like knocks on your door or rings doorbell late at night, don't answer it because like it's a Stikini like trying to get in, like yeah, that's
can't forget that, man.
Yeah, it frightened me as a kid.
I wonder if that's where the like black-eyed children, like that's like a newer sort of thing, and it's just like born from the internet.
I didn't know that.
It started coming around in the 90s. This guy was just like returning some VHS tapes to like a video store, and these kids came up to his door and like knocked on the door to try and get a ride home.
Yeah.
Well, these like he almost did, and then he noticed that these kids like had just black eyes, and he was just like, and a peace out.
Yeah,
and he
right.
drove away. So that sounds like That also, yeah, I mean that.
He's like, "Oh, sir, we just got into a fist fight earlier. That's where the black eyes came from.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds
Don't
like
forget to
it's-
return your VHS.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Those late fees will get you."
Maybe taken from the Stikini.
Yeah.
Okay, it's possible. Well, right on. What else you guys got up in that area?
I don't know. I feel like this. Some people. I know a couple of tribes who have this, but the little people. Do you have the little people?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we call them Minnipees. It's not a
Yeah.
Kiowa word. I think it's like it originates from like a Cherokee word, like Nunnapees or something like that. But we always grew up calling them Minnipees. Little.
Yeah, we call them. I think it's Stillabuskages. I think that's how you say it around here.
Yo. That's cool. Yeah, man, they're creepy, man. When I was a kid, I always blamed everything on little people,
Yeah.
man. Oh, it's the little
Yeah,
people.
yeah, the little people.
They were taking my stuff. They're hiding it.
Yeah, I was always
Yeah.
told they lived in like cedar trees, like oak trees or whatever.
Mm.
And like in my backyard growing up, like we had like a cedar tree. So like every time when we like threw out food, we threw it at the cedar tree like as an offering, like just like here's our food. Don't mess with us or whatever.
Some old time.
Stay away from me.
Right there.
Yeah, right.
For real.
That is.
Yeah.
Leave me alone, please.
Yeah.
Here, just eat the food, man. Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
what
yeah, that's
else
pretty much
is there?
and that's pretty much the only two we've heard. It's like this,
Gotcha.
Stikinis, little people, stuff like that.
yeah.
But our little people, when they told me stories about them, like younger, it was like really terrifying because they was like, like I had a cousin who was like he was like mentally handicapped, and they was like, well, the little people did that to him, and I was like, what? And they was
so
like, yeah,
messed
like.
up.
They was like he was normal, and then they probably just told him he's scary, but like I always
Yeah.
heard like when I heard little people, they was always like they're gonna take you and they're gonna
Oh,
eat
yeah.
your brain.
I heard
That's what
that
they did
too.
to
There's
him.
always that.
Yeah,
No. That's so messed up.
yeah. And they was like, so they was like, yeah, he was normal and he was fine. He was like a teenager, and he went out in the woods one night, and then he never came back. And then everybody was looking for him. And they was like, where's he at? Where's he? Where they had like a search party, and then he came walking out of the woods, and he was like, his like some little people came and got me, and he was like. Not right after that. And that's what their story was.
Holy crap.
Who told you that?
Yeah, man. Adults, dude.
Adults, yeah.
They're trying to scare you
know.
from going out to the woods at night,
Yeah.
man.
That's what it is.
That's what
man.
most of these stories are based
Oh, yeah,
on, or
100%.
just like,
Yeah.
listen to your parents, listen to your elders.
Yeah. Don't go in the woods.
Don't go out in the woods
Yeah,
at
don't go
night.
out in the woods.
Don't wander too far. Don't look out the window at night because you'll get scared. You
Yeah.
know.
Don't take anything that's not yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they all kind of like they're there to keep you safe, but I'm
Yeah.
not taking away that they might not also be rooted in things that are also real.
Yeah, because I always heard like
Yeah.
at stomp dance, like don't go too far from the camp, like don't go in the woods because that's where deer woman is. And
Oh,
she'll get
yeah.
you or
The
whatever.
deer woman. That's another one.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say the deer woman. The
Yeah.
deer
Yeah,
lady. Yep.
dude. That's our biggest one in Kiowa, man. Even in Res Dogs, when she was
That's
in
a
that
good
one
episode.
episode, she was hitchhiking, and she's like, "Oh, I'm headed out to Kiowa country, Carnegie." I was like, "Dang, yo, I got the chills." It's like, well, that's where our family land is at, So we get out there and we
Yeah.
tell deer woman stories. And I know it's taboo for a lot of natives to even say that word or hear
Yeah,
that word.
yeah.
Yeah,
but
or
we
even share
we-
like what we're talking about right now. Like some
Yeah.
names would be like, "How?
I mean,
no,
that's
you
what
can't say that."
that's what our podcast is about.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
are talking about the taboo. It's in what we say every time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, you got to
Yeah,
know
it's
that we're
true,
gonna
yeah.
things we talk about might make you uncomfortable. So
Yep, I like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So do you want to tell us a story?
Yes. So it's funny. My story will have the deer lady. It will have Bigfoot. It will have Stikinis. Not little people, but it'll have everything. And it has murder. It has,
Yeah.
So
All right.
I don't know. Like, okay, so it all starts off with obviously allotment land. And if you don't know what allotment land is, like when natives were come over from wherever they were from, they like put on where they are now, the government would give
Trail
them
of
like an
Tears.
allotment. Yeah, the Trail of
Yeah.
Tears, they give them like an allotment of land. And so my great grandma, her name's Grandma Lusty, and, which means black, Grandma Black. That's like the Lusty is the term. That's what that means in my language. But my great grandma, her dad, for some reason, when he had his land, he didn't give any to her. And he gave it to everyone else but her. He really excluded her from his will, and he was like, "You're not getting anything." So she married this rich man. His name was Thomas Lusty. That's how she got the Lusty last name. But she married this rich man.
Okay.
And he was like an oil dude, regular Indian guy, but he just had like a lot of land, a lot of oil. And so he had like, 200 acres. And then, so that's where she went. That's the land I have now, passed down from me from her to like my, other cousins and stuff. But a lot of people did not like this guy. He was like, I guess he had money and he was very like arrogant and just would, just speak his mind. Yeah. And so this is how bad he wasn't liked, is his best friends killed him.
Whoa.
And yeah, they killed him at his house. They poisoned him. They poisoned his food.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they stabbed him in the back. And so they didn't like him. They poisoned him, and like we don't like know for sure if they did, but that was very suspect, and he was like saying it before he was dying. And my grandpa was a kid, and he saw him die, and he was like, that was like the worst I've ever seen anybody die. Like, it was absolutely terrible. He's like throwing up blood, having a seizure, like walked outside and just fell flat on his face and was like foaming at the mouth. Wow. And it was very like in bad, so yeah, so she got the land from him after that because he died. And then she married another man, and this husband walked outside one day and got struck by lightning. Like, right? I know, it's crazy. Like, and so that's why I was like, this land is cursed, and if you go to this land, maybe. And this is just the start. We're just warming up here. We're just, I'm getting your toes in the water here. So after that, she didn't get remarried, but she had kids and everything like that. And my grandpa, he moved, like all her kids lived around on the land, obviously. So my grandpa lived, he made a driveway right beside her house, and he lived like, I don't know, probably a couple feet, 100 feet, from her. But there was a tree line that separates it. Anyways, like bad luck was happening there too. Like he had a friend, there was a pond in front of that house, and he had a friend drown in the pond. They were just swimming, and she drowned in the pond. And then when my grandpa started having kids, the babysitter who was watching my kids, or not my kids, watching my, my uncles and aunts, she had a heart attack and died. And so they was like, so my grandpa's wife, or my grandma, she was like, something's up. I don't know why there's so much people dying. Oh, and I forgot to mention, before that, there was other murders of like just randomness. Like this one's hilarious. There was a preacher, I think his name was John Brown, and he was at Thomas Lusty's house, my great-great-grandmother's house, and I guess he got to argument. There was drinking involved. He was a preacher. He drank. It's just funny. But he pulled a gun out and shot a guy and killed him right in like the living room. Yeah. And so there was like, it's just death everywhere. So anyways, my grandpa, after the babysitter died, my grandma was like, there's something up with this. Like there's so much dying happening around, and like in my grandpa's lifetime, there's probably like 10 people that died there. Yeah. Anyways, his son, my uncle, he got sick out of nowhere and died. And he was like 3 years old. He was a kid. So after that, my grandma was like, something is seriously wrong. And so she got a medicine man. And the medicine man came along, and he was like, yeah, this area that you're on is a Bigfoot trail. It's like, just like old creature comes through here, and that stuff, it's, it's like a sickness. It'll leave sickness for you, and bad omens will happen to you. And so she was like, oh, is that why? So they moved that house over. They moved their houses over on the land. And from that, stuff, eventually death calmed down, but the weird, the wild, and the wonderful continued. So like when I was growing up, I would always hear like things in the woods, and like when you grow up in the woods, you always hear like, what a raccoon sounds like, what oil will sound like, what pretty much everything sounds like. But when I was like in high school, it was like this was the most, I think it was, I would say it was a Stikini, but when I was in high school, like my nephew was over, and we was just chilling and everything like that. And then I was like, we was playing outside, and I was, all of a sudden I heard something. I was like, what was that? And it was an owl, but it sounded really funny. It didn't, like, it was an owl, it was just like, hoo, hoo. And it sounded almost human, but almost like an owl, but it sounded like it was kind of like, I don't know, it was a sarcastic hoo.
Something pretending to be an owl.
Yeah. And I stopped, and I was like, what was that? And then he was like, what? And I was like, did you hear that? And then it hooted again, and I was like, watch this. And I hooted back at it. And when I did that, it laughed at me, like the most scariest laugh I've ever heard in my life. It was like, it started off as like a hoo, it was like, hoo, hoo, ah, and like it started just like laughing, and it like echoed throughout. And dude, as soon as that happened,
the ending
like
laugh, you throw the head back, you're like,
yeah, 100 owls at the same time just all started hooing. And I remember like I would just sit there like I was like, It's like you almost couldn't like. He was like, "Is this happening? Is this real?" Like it was so unreal. And I looked at my cousin, and he's just tears running down his face. And he's like, "I said my nephew. He was my cousin, but he's like crying, and he's just like, take me home, take me home, take me home." And then my mom, I told my mom, I was like, "Mom," and she came outside, and my mom's an old Indian lady. She came outside, and she was like, "These mother effers." She's like. She's like Stikini. She's like, man, and she was like so pissed off. She was like, there's people out here doing bad medicine on us. That's who they are. And she was like, I wish I had a gun. I wish I had night vision goggles. I could see where he's at. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, yeah. She's like, that's what that is. It's a medicine man. He's out there and he's just throwing his voice because that's what they can do. You know, they can do crazy stuff that you never can imagine. And she's like, and he's out there right now, and that's what he's doing. He's scaring you and he's laughing at you for doing that. But like, it wasn't a regular laugh. I'm telling you, like, if I could not believe what I heard. It was such a terrifying laugh. Like, it was a laugh, but it sounded like... this is how weird it sounded like it was he was doing it in a microphone, and he had a reverb, and it was like echoing throughout the woods, and it sounded crystal clear, and I was like, what the heck? And shortly after that, it happened again. But this time, I was kind of like prepared. I knew like something was gonna happen. So like, I had a voice recorder, and I was just outside one night, and I used to like build some guitars and stuff. And so I had like this guitar body, and I was outside sanding it down. And it was like 10 o'clock at nighttime, and I was just out there, and I would always like hope to catch something. And then I heard it. This time, I didn't hear like a hoot. I heard singing. Like it wasn't. It was like whistling. Like it was, and I remember it like when it happened because I just was like, what is that? I was like, dude, that sounds wild. It was the same thing. It was like reverb, and it like echoed throughout the woods, and it was like, and it was like a whistle that was like whistling. And I remember like at the moment I was like, that is the most beautiful whistle I've ever heard in my entire life. And then I was like, who's out there? And then again it laughed. It was like, and I was like, what the heck? And I jumped up and I dropped my guitar, went inside, and I was like, I was sitting there and my heart was like going. I was like, what was that? And I had dogs and they were going crazy. And so I was like, I gotta get the recorder.
Stop you really quick. So there's this, this old saying like, don't whistle at night. A lot of tribes, a lot of tribes believe that. And I'm not sure like where in your people where it originates from, but I know for Navajos they believe not to whistle at night because that's how skinwalkers, bad medicine men, shapeshifters, that's how they communicate. And specifically on like windy nights, that's when they go out because it hides their like footsteps. It'll blow over their footsteps. It's harder to hear them stepping through things if it's windy, and they communicate by whistling at night. So if you whistle at night, it'll attract them to you, and then they'll come and mess with you and stuff like that. So I've always said that I think that Stikinis and skinwalkers, traditional Navajo skinwalkers or whatever, that they're the same thing, but just like different, tribes, different cultures. They're just bad shape-shifting medicine men. And, who knows if they communicate through whistling at night. But that's honestly, you telling me that, I'm like, yo, it was definitely talking to somebody, or maybe it was doing medicine through that kind of whistling voice. Yo, that's horrifying, dude.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. And like, I don't know, like it's when I heard it, I was like, when I heard that, I was like, there's nobody, like, I can never describe it how like wild it sounded. So like when that happened, I went back inside and I was like, I gotta get my voice recorder. And then I was like, I have to have someone else like experience this with me, because like when you hear and see like experience stuff like that, it's so unreal that like even you were like, that didn't happen. What did I hear things? So I got my recorder and I put it outside. I was so scared that I just put my hand out the door and I had it going. And I was like, it was quiet again. I was like, hey, what are you doing out there? And like I did it a couple times, and then finally it laughed. This time it was like even more scarier. And I caught it on like a recorder, and I was like, oh my God. And so I messaged my friend, and I was like, you got to come to my house. Something is happening like crazy right now. Like, you've got to come out here. So he drove out there, and it was like, by that time it was like 2 a.m. And he was like, he was like, hey, I'll walk out there with you. And I was like, okay. So we walked off my back porch, like kind of at the tree line, because like my house was there, and then behind that was like a tree line, a little field and then a tree line. And we walked up almost to the tree line, but like maybe in between the house and the tree line. And he was sitting there with me, and nothing was happening. My dogs were around me, and like it was all crystal clear. And I was like, of course this happens, The frog isn't singing, and I'm told him the frog sings, So it was sitting there, and it's the same moment he was like, He's like, "Are you sure you're just not tired, man? It's like 2 in the morning." And as soon as he said that, it like screamed, dude. It screamed the most like blood curdling scream. My dogs were they didn't even bark. They were just gone. They went to they were just like, meow.
Yeah.
And then, and it just it sounded like
you're
a
on your own
bear.
here, pal.
Yeah, it was like a bear mixed with like a dragon, a lion, all at one time. And my friend was just like frozen. He was like, I heard that. And I was like, I'm going to go back now. We just was like walking backwards. Yeah, we was walking backwards. And then we got in the house and he was like, yo, what was that? And I was like, I was just happy at that point. I was like, I told you, man. Yeah. But
holy crap.
Yeah, so that was my, like, you know, experience with the Stikini. That was like personal for me.
Yeah,
but
do you have those recordings like
so that's the thing. Okay, so like at the time I had recorded it with my iPod, right? That was my voice recorder, was my iPod Touch. And at the time there was no iCloud recordings, but like I had a laptop that was my aunt's that she left at my house and I was using it. And I thought she forgot about it, you know. She was like, oh yeah. And so I like synced it to there. It was downloaded on her laptop, but like my like account was on there and it was like backed up, like it was backed up on that account. And I was like, okay, well I could just delete it off my iPhone or the iPod Touch, and I deleted it. And then she came and got her laptop back, and like she took it with her, and I don't know what ever happened to that laptop. I asked her about it. She's like, oh yeah, I don't know what happened to it. But I was like, man, I don't know, like I don't have them anymore, and I'm like so upset. But I did show like a lot of people that recording because I was always like, you want to hear something weird, and I like let them listen to it, and people would be like, dude, that sounds. They like get real. They would get like bothered by it every time they heard it. They would always be like, what the heck is that? Yeah, and like I even showed my my principal because he was like watching our class one time. I was like, you want to hear something crazy? And I showed him that, and he got like emotional. He was like, that's not right, man. What is that? And I was natural. Like, yeah. And he was like, it would like bother people. But man, I hope it's like on my account somewhere because like I did like back it up. I don't know, like iCloud didn't exist back then, but like it backed up to my profile. And someday I'm gonna like hopefully like I'm gonna dig through Apple's like stuff and try to get that recording.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Just to hear that,
dude. So to interrupt you there, my family also has land that's been passed down from generation to generation that was allotted to our head of household back in the 1800s or whenever it was. And our little plot of land, we call it Cat Springs. We really won the lottery there by getting this plot of land because there's a beautiful spring that runs through. It's the base of a hill. It's like heaven on earth. Our family goes camping there every year. It's a really huge part of our family. It's a spiritual place. It's great. But also, I think that there's just a lot of spiritual energy in the whole area over there because it's on Indian land, and lots of Indians have lived there and passed through. It's near the Wichitas, so lots has happened over there. But something that you said, it was like pretending to. It sounded like it pretended to be an owl. It reminded me of a story that happened on Cat Springs, and this was told to me by my cousin because he was with a bunch of friends that it happened to. So we were all camping out there, and it was a particularly rainy Memorial Day weekend, which is when our family was out there, and it was so rainy that the rest of us, we all left and stayed in families' houses and a hotel and stuff like that in town that was nearby. But a few of the high school kids, I think like 4 of them, they stayed behind and they camped out. Ended up the wind was getting so bad, we were in tornado warnings and stuff like that. And so my cousin and one of his friends, they dipped out and they slept in the truck. And the truck was on, and so they had the doors locked, and they had the AC rolling, and so they were just lounging. They're sleeping like kings in that truck, But one of their friends who was hardcore, he's like, nah, man, you guys, I'm gonna stay in the tent tonight. You guys are sissies. And so he stays in the tent, legit the only person not in a car that's out there. And it's raining hard, and in the middle of the night, around 3 a.m., the witching hour, my cousin, he hears a banging on the glass. He's like, we have to go right now. And he's like, why? He's like, just trust me, we have to leave right now. And so he trusts his friend, and so he unlocks the door, he hops in, and they just drive back to Yukon, which is an hour and a half away. And so he's driving back. He's like, why are we leaving right now? He said, I can't go back there. He's like, what happened? And he was camping in a tent that's right by this stream, right by the stream that comes from the spring. And he said he woke up and he was so sleepy, but he heard his brother calling him from the creek. And so he was so asleep that he didn't even think anything of it. So he unzips his tent and he starts walking in the rain out towards the creek, and he keeps hearing his little brother like calling his name, like, "Hey, come on out here.
Oh man.
Come play with me in the water." And then like all of a sudden, he's finally like regaining consciousness, waking up, and then he's like, "That's not my brother. My brother's back home in Yukon. I don't know who's out there pretending to be my brother, but that's not my brother." And so he just dips out, forgets everything in his tent, bangs on the glass door, and just they drive back to Yukon. And I was mad because they left all their camping stuff, and I was the one who had to pack it all up for them. Nah, you guys, man, leave me all the hard work to do out here.
That's
and I
that
heard
classic,
that, I was like,
man.
No way.
They left you.
That got me, dude, for real.
Yikes.
Dude, that's that classic stuff. Like that's what, like when I was talking about the Stikini, like that's what it always talks about doing, is like leading you outside, or like trying to get you to open the door, like make you sleepwalk to open the door so that we could come in your house and like mess around with your stuff and put bad medicine down and like hurt you. So like that's very like similar of like trying to lure you into something bad, like maybe you wanted to drown,
Yeah, exactly. Oof, so creepy.
So,
go on to more of your stories.
I was gonna say,
I'm so intrigued.
The guys talking about Bigfoot like the last couple podcasts, and so like I told you about the Bigfoot trail, and like I don't know if this medicine, they like, I feel, obviously these stories are passed down, but like I think the lady was like, hey, this is like if you ever see like a big hairy monster on this trail, it's really not, it's like a medicine man or something like that, because like the way they talk about it, I almost interpret it as like what they're seeing that they think is Bigfoot is like the shape-shifting medicine man. Like that's what it always kind of seemed like to me. Because they was like, this, I guess this is like a trail where they would go a lot. They would take this, my land was like a trail they would kind of like travel a lot, I guess. And but growing up, I always heard stories of everyone in my family seeing like something like that, like a big, tall, Bigfoot-like creature. Like my great uncle, he died, but he died before I was born. But they would always tell the story of him and his friends. They were coming down a hill, and my mom, she was like, yeah, they just come swerving in. They were all in a pickup truck, and they just like flew in the driveway like 90 miles an hour, and they all jumped out and they all just ran in the house, and they was getting their guns. She's like, what are y'all doing? Like, what are y'all doing? And they was like, we saw this big 7-foot tall hairy dude walking across the road coming down this hill, and we're gonna go kill it. And she was like, what? And they just all jumped in, and they like hauled off in guns, classic, in the back of the truck just with guns. And they went, and they couldn't find it, but they said they found giant footprints, like real big footprints that was bigger than theirs. And then like they were like, they followed those tracks for a long time and just disappeared. And I was like, ooh, that's classic Stikinis, man. That's what the Stikinis do. They just disappear out of nowhere without a trace. And then my uncle, who lived like right down the road from me, he literally, like, if you see him in the daytime, he's like, I always thought of him as like invincible. He'd be like, I ain't afraid of nothing. I ain't afraid of no man. I ain't afraid of anything. But he's afraid of going out at nighttime. Because he said one time he was out hunting, and then like he was sitting there, and then he felt something behind him. And he said he like looked, and when he was sitting up at his tree on the ground, and when he looked, he said it was like a 7-foot tall hairy creature, and all he saw was just a black, like just a shadow. And it was like early morning, it's just getting blue outside, and he saw it, and he just took off running. And to this day, he will not go outside at nighttime. And like if his car breaks down, he's gonna be sleeping in his car. He's that terrified. Jeez. And so those stories were like told to me. And then my friends, like when they come over, like in high school, my friends used to always come over, and they were white kids. They didn't know anything about this. I went to a school that was like predominantly white, and I had like me and my other friend was like the only natives there, so. But like my other friend who was native, he knew all the stories and something like that, and he would come over. But then like I'd have like 5 other friends, which is like, it wasn't like we didn't party or do drugs, but we just like hung out, play video games. So there was like 6 of us always around, and like one friend had a car, and we'd all like jump in it and just go driving around and stuff. And we drove down to like my pond, and we was gonna go to my pond, and it was like middle of the night. We just messing around. So let's go ghost hunting. And we was like, yeah. And we parked at the gate, and it had a lock on there, and I had to get out and unlock it. And my friends was out walking around, and they went across the road, and then they like come running back to me. And when they came running to me, I was already getting in the car. I was like, oh, what y'all see? What y'all see? I was like, what is it? And it was like, dude, I saw one of my friends. He's white. I saw Bigfoot. There's a effing big ace dude, like bigger than me, and me and him 6'3". He's like, he's bigger than me over there across that fence, and he was staring at us. And I was like, what? And it was like, in my native friend, his name's Corey, he's like, let's go over there, let's go look at it. And I was like, are y'all crazy? I was like, I'm staying in the car, man, y'all go over there and die. Right. So they got out of the car, and my other friend was with them. And so they went and they said like it was like probably like 30 feet away, and they was gonna like climb over the fence to try to get a closer look. And when they like went closer to it, they was like, yeah, it was big and hairy. And when we got to the fence, it like took off in the woods. And I was like, man, y'all's crazy that y'all was like that. And he's like, well, the car was right back there. We just run to the car. I was like, dude, what if he like slams the car, flips it over, just kills us all or something? You know? But those two, like one of those friends, he was a hunter, and he was like, can I hunt on your land? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so he hunted on my land, and it was in the same spot like that was supposedly the Bigfoot trail. And he was also like not scared of anything. Obviously he wasn't scared. He was literally about to walk over and see like a Bigfoot, right? Like these guys were like really, they didn't grow up with the same stories I did. They were just white boys. They were like, you know,
go towards the danger. It's all
go towards the danger. You know, I'm a beer drinking, truck driving, America loving man. I don't care. So yeah, brother. They was like, so they was not scared guys. And so one of my friends, his experience, he was hunting, and it was the same thing. They went early in the morning, and they'd always ask me if I want to go. I was like, dude, I'm sleeping. There's no way I'm waking up 4 o'clock in the morning to go hunting. Yeah. And one morning he came up knocking. Yeah,
I'm gonna sleep.
He come knocking on my door, and he was like, dude, he's like, I'm about shitting myself. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, it was like 8 in the morning. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm like, oh my God. He's like, man. He's like, I was literally, he's like, I swear something was holding me prisoner in your woods, and I almost could not leave. And I was like, what are you talking about? Whoa. He's like, dude, I got to my tree area where I was at. I had my deer corn set out. And he's like, it was like 5 o'clock. And he's like, you know, it was getting morning. And then like, he's like, I just kind of fell asleep, you know. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I fell asleep. It was kind of nighttime. And he came back to, and it was like, he heard something. And he's like, what the heck is that? And he like looked to his right, and he saw like the trees moving. And he heard something like going through the trees. And he's like, what the heck is that? And he was about to get up and run, and then like he heard like a tree just snap, like a big tree snap, and he was like, what is that? And he was like terrified, and his truck was a ways, you know, because he went away from, he had to walk to that spot. And he was like, he said it just stopped, and he was like when he stood up, it stopped, and he was like, what the heck is going on? And he like walked a little bit, and then it walked a little bit, and he was like, and he was right there. He's got his gun. He's like ready, and he was like, "Where's it at?" And he started like walking. And every time it walked, he walked, and he was just like he had to do that slowly, looking around. And then every time he walked, it would walk. And finally, he came out to like a little clearing, and it was like a driveway that led to that pond that I was telling you guys about. And when he got to that pond, when he walked, he saw a tree move, and he just was like, "I'm out of here." And he took off running towards his truck, and he got to his truck, and he's like, just got in there, and was like, "Oh, I'm out of here." Went to my house, drove up to there, and told me the whole story.
Oh my God.
Nope.
Yeah. And that same thing happened to my other white friend as well. He went hunting, wasn't scared of anything, and then after he had a similar experience, and he was like, dude, something was in your woods. And after that, and there was times when like we'd go ghost hunting, he'd walk in the woods, darkness, and we were like, what are you doing? And he was just like, I'm badass, you know, I don't care. You know, walk in the woods. Dude, after that, he was scared of like scary movies. He was like, dude, like when that happened to him, he was like terrified.
Put him in his place.
And I was like, yeah, it was like
you're in a scary movie, like you witness it.
Like, yeah, I mean, it never happened to me, but like when they would tell me that, I would be like, that's crazy. Like almost, I don't believe you, but like, you know, but they did change. Like it was so weird, and we'd always say that, like, man, isn't it weird? That they just like they were like always like, oh yeah. Then they're like after that, they're like, you know, I don't go in the woods after dark. And everybody who's experienced that Bigfoot or whatever it was. Everyone doesn't go out after dark after that. It's so weird. I've never seen it and I've never experienced it, but like everybody I know, even like my close friends who did that, they don't go out after dark anymore.
Have you tried like, so you've never experienced it, have you tried like tempting it since then, like on your own?
Dude, okay, or? So I will say yes. Like, okay, so my land, like if you ever want to ghost hunt, man, I'll take you out there.
I was gonna say, like, we were getting into paranormal investigating, and we were trying to get out on Indian land specifically to try to, you know, conjure up some energy or something, you know. So we'd love to come out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the invitation's there. So I think maybe one time, I don't know if it was that, but I did explain. I would always take people out there, and sometimes stuff doesn't happen. You go out there, just nice, cool night, you're chilling, but like 50% of the time, stuff weird does happen. And I didn't think it was Bigfoot, but like looking back on it, I was like, man, maybe that's what they were hearing, because like it was unreal. Like it was. And so I took my cousin out there, and he was the same way. He's like, man, dude, it's all explainable, man. It's all explainable. Stuff like this is explainable. And even to this day, he's kind of that way, except about the experience we had that night. That experience he had that night, he always brings up. He's like, dude, I don't know what that happened. I don't know. He's like, I tell people about that. And he's like, and they don't believe me. He's like, but like, you really wouldn't believe unless you were there. And I was like, yeah. But we went out there one night, and I was like sitting out there, and a lot of times this happens. We like, you ghost hunt. You like, hey, is anybody out there? Nothing happens, and we just start talking about just life and everything like that. And we were just talking. All of a sudden, I heard something, and I was like, what the hell's that? And we all stopped, and I was like, did you hear that? And it was like, yeah, we heard that. And it was like on the tree line again. It was like I heard like a little snap, like a walking. It could have been a possum. I was like, maybe it's a possum. Yeah. And I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden, I heard like it was like a doom, doom. And then it just it sounded like it just full sprinted at us. But when I tell you, this sounded like when it started running full sprint, it sounded like an elephant. It was gigantic. Like it was like boom, boom. And I was like, dude, I was running to my car as fast as I could. And I got in, and I was like, I just started up, and I peeled out of there. I was like, dude, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? And they were all freaking out too, my friend and my cousin. And I was like, y'all hear that, right? Y'all heard that? And they was like, yeah. They was like, dude, why did that sound so big? I was like, I don't know, but it sounded like it was so big. It sounded like it was running on concrete. Like it was just like doom, doom, doom. And it's so unbelievable, and it's so hard that like you would have had to experience it. But like my cousin after that, he was always like, that was pretty crazy. Like I don't know, I can't explain that. That was wild. But maybe it was a Bigfoot type thing because it sounded gigantic.
Yeah. So I have a little theory here. Lots of natives, they think that Bigfoot is a spirit. Sometimes a good spirit, sometimes a bad spirit. It's not just like one Bigfoot, And for me, what it sounds like is that the people that are out on your land aren't welcome there, and that the spirits want them to know that. So it manifests into something big and scary to kind of scare them off, dude. And for you, obviously, it was it passed down to you, so it's your land. You're Indian. It's your blood right, but also it probably still wants you to respect it as well. And know that it is real and it is out there, and that it still can scare you if it wants to, without you even having to see anything.
Because nothing ever really has happened. Nothing's like. I mean, I've heard stuff. Obviously, I heard like what maybe in Stikini, but like nothing ever crazy like happened. It would never. I mean, maybe the Stikini was directed towards me, but like that crazy stuff felt like it just happened, and like it always would affect like my white friends. And even that night, I took my white friend down there with me, and he was like, "I want to go down there," and he was down there. And maybe it's like, I don't know, residual energy of the past natives, and they're like, you put us on this land, how dare you?
Oh, yeah.
It could be, I don't know what it was, but I'm telling you, there's some wild stuff that happens down there. Like,
God, man, you make me about to go cedar myself, dude.
I'm telling you.
Good stories, for sure.
Yeah, I have so much more with that, too. Like, even like after that, I saw like, I don't know what the heck it was one night. Maybe it was. And this one happened recently. This happened this year. Like we went down there. My cousin was like the one who just happened. Like he was like, I want to go down there again. I want to see if we can hear that thing going crazy because it was so wild. I want to hear it. And so we went down there, and we brought my other cousin with us this time, and like we just down there, and it was a pretty cool night. Nothing was happening, and I was just sitting there and talking. And then like my cousin was like, whoa, and I was like, oh crap, what is it? He's like, no, nothing. I was like, oh, okay. And then we were sitting there for a bit, and while I was talking. And like mid-sentence, I thought I saw something. And I was like, what is that? I was like, is that a person? And I like stopped, and I looked, and I just stopped talking. And I said, what? And I look like literally like at the tree line again. I swear to God, I saw like literally, it was just like a white figure with no face, bald-headed, and like the figure of a man at the tree line. And it was just looking at me. And I was like, is that like a person? And so I was like, because it looked like a person. I was like, maybe it's a person. The moonlight was hitting him. I don't know. Just a white dude butt naked in the woods. I don't know. And so I waved at him. And I was just like, waved at it. And then it waved at me, and I was in the car. I was like, I'm out of here. And then I was in the car, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, just running to the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it had no face, though. Like, I could see pretty good. I have glasses, so like I saw, and it had no face. And I got in the car, and I was like, go, go, go. And when we was driving away, he's like, my cousin, what'd you see? I was like, I saw a white dude with no face. And my cousin's like, was he bald? And I was like, he was. And he's like, I saw him too then. He's like, you remember when I was like, what the hell's that? And then he's like, oh, nothing. He's like, I swear I saw somebody, like my old house is there. He said he saw somebody like look out and looked back in, and he was like, "Was that?"
Passed up on telling you that?
Yeah, because he didn't want to. He was like, "I didn't want to scare you guys," and I thought maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me. He's like, you know, because it's real dark, you're scared. He's like, you know, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. He's like, but when you said you saw a white dude with no face, he's like, I saw a white dude with no face too. And I was like,
Slender Man without a suit on.
yeah. And I was like, so wild stuff happens. And before that, I'd taken one of my like friends out there, and he was like, and this goes along with the deer lady. Like we was out there, he's single, running around with women. You know, he's just living his life. And
just deer woman's next victim is what it sounds like to
all
me.
around town.
Yeah.
yes. So we was there, and we was out there ghost hunting one night, and I was just sitting out there, and when we got there, it was immediately like the vibe felt weird. The vibe did feel weird around like the land, and my friend was there, my other cousin was there, and we were just sitting there, and I was like, man, this feels like weird. I don't want to go like deep in there. And he's like, yeah, let's go deep in there. Let's go deep in there. And I was like, no, I don't really want to, man. I feel like it's really. I was like, I'm kind of scared. Like I'm really scared tonight. I don't know what it is. And when we walked up to the house, the door opened up by itself, and I was like, ooh, I was like, maybe it's the wind, but I was already like, guys, right there. I was like, dude, that's weird. The door opened up, and they was like, well, you know, maybe it's the wind, dude. Yeah, it's the old house. The wind just opened up, and I was like, oh, I don't know, dude. So we went back to the car.
That's what old houses do. The doors are just open.
Old houses. Old houses open up.
Itself at home.
Yeah, it's saying, come on in. And we went back to the car, and we standing at the car, and I was like, man, I was just trying to play off like, I know it's gonna happen, guys. Let's just get out of here. But I really was feeling off. And then something threw a rock at like us, like at our feet, like it landed, like it literally sounded like it fell from just the sky, like just straight down and landed at our feet. I was like, whoa! I was like, dude, what the? I was like, dude, I'm getting in the car. I was like, I don't care about y'all. And they were like, what
Back
the fuck?
in the car, man. That's the theme of the episode.
Yeah, when everybody was like, did you throw that rock? Everybody was really like starting to go out, like, you know, did you throw that rock? Did you throw that rock? And I was like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get out of here. And everybody was kind of like, you know, hey, did you throw the rock? And I was like, oh, okay. And then so we had a spirit box. And I was like, my cousin, let's do the spirit box. And I was like, I don't want to do the spirit box, man. It's already freaking crazy right now. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do the spirit box. And I don't even believe in spirit boxes. I'm like, that's just crazy stuff. But dude,
it was just super random,
like,
whatever.
This one was crazy. Like even everybody was like, that's wild. And I was like, they was like, hey, say like, you know, do they know who you are? And I was like, do you know who I am? And I was like, yes. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And I was like, are you evil? And I was like, no. And I was like, okay. And I was like, do you like me? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's like, you know, and there's, hey, ask if it knows Seth. That's my friend. And I was like, do you know Seth? And it was like, yeah. And I was like, do you like him? And he said, no. And I was like, ooh. I was like, do you hate him? And it was like, yes. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And I was like, who are you? And I was like, are you a demon? And it's like, no. I was like, oh, okay, well. And they were like, dang, you're getting kind of brave. And I was kind of getting brave. I was like, this is wild. Like, I was kind of intrigued at this point.
You're like, yo, we're good. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you're
I was like, devil.
watch out, bro.
Yeah, I started naming off all kinds of stuff. And I was like, who are you? And it's literally, it was like, dear woman. And we was like, oh, bro. And we were like, yo. It was the wildest shit I've ever heard in my life. I was like, we was all just like, yo. It was the craziest stuff. And that was the only time I will ever believe in a spirit box, is because it was just so wild. I was like, this is wild. Like,
Yeah, that's uncanny.
yeah.
Oh,
And a ghost hunter.
No.
Yeah, a ghost hunter did come to my house one time, and I never thought of doing this. I don't know why I never thought of doing this, but he was at the house, the land as well, and he was like, he heard stories, and I was like, yeah, come down here, we'll go ghost hunt and everything. And I didn't think anything was going to happen, and it was very quiet, like nothing was happening. We saw a mouse, we thought it was something, and we was in my old house doing this. And he was like, did you ever think of like communicating in your language? And I was like, oh, I've never thought about that. I was like, my grandpa spoke fluently. My great grandma literally only spoke in like Muskogee. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Wow. And I was like, okay. I was like, Chabon. And as soon as I said that, something knocked on the door. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I really was like, it was immediate. And he looked at me, and I was just like, that was interesting. And I was like, maybe that's nothing. And so I said, Chabon, I only know like a few words, and I was like, I'm gonna say, Chabon, it's time to eat. And I was like, Chabon, it's time to eat. And then like nothing happened. And then I asked him how old he was, and I was like, how old are you? And then when I said that, a really loud knock. It was like boom, boom, boom. And I was just like, whoa. At that point, I literally thought someone was messing with us. And I was like, this is, I was like, I've never experienced anything this intelligent. Like, this was before the deer woman, obviously. After that, I did experience it. But, like, at that point, I never talked to something that seemed like it was talking back. I literally went outside the house and I was like, there's someone out here with us. There's someone fucking with me. There's no way that this is. And he was like, dude, he's like, there ain't no way out here, man. And I was like, that is crazy. But he has a YouTube channel. His name's Matt Yellowhorse. And he has that video on his channel and of that recording of, like, that happening, that knock, because I'll also
we'll
have
throw
that
it in
recording.
we'll throw it in the
we'll throw up
description
a link
down there.
Yeah,
send it over. We'll throw it in the description because
Yeah,
I can't
so
wait to
like,
see that.
like I was just like, what in the heck? And it was just so wild that like happened. Like, and then he took pictures and there was like balls of lights in places. But that night it was crazy. I didn't think anything was happened, but we had like incredible, like I was talking to, and that's one thing. When I started saying Indian words, it was like responding like to me back, and I was like, whoa, like it's so crazy that it's responding to me like fast too. Like I would say it and it would just be like right there, like bop, just hit something, knock something over, like whispers, and he's like, dude, this is crazy. But I felt safe. Like, for some reason I was like, I feel like this is like, if I am like talking to anybody, I feel like it was family, like from back, whatever. But they were like, it was intelligent, and it's just so weird to like talk about this stuff because people are like, oh, you don't believe it. But then I take them down to my woods, and then they're like, okay, some weird stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's so hard to subscribe to just the standard ideal of just like a ghost is, like a home haunting, because like even me, I'm like, okay, but like I grew up with native stories, and I fully believe all that,
I was gonna say, man, I wonder, I grew up, not to sidetrack or anything, but I had a friend who had like a house that was haunted, like, and it's so weird, and I'm wondering if it's a similar sort of like vibe, right? Because I've never been on native land or anything.
Well, you're on it right now, Dylan.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But like, so I wonder if it like is a different feeling, because I've been in situations that are legitimately just like scary. So like, I have like recordings of it all. Like I have audio captured from it.
Yeah.
Of like from stuff in the house. Like I've had stuff thrown at doors in front of me. Like, I've never had anything. What's funny though is I've never had anything happen outside of a house.
Okay.
Right? It's all been like, it's all happened inside of a house.
Like almost like that spirit's tied to like just that location or whatever.
Yeah. Where a lot of the activity happened was my friend's old bedroom, where his like great grandmother passed away, but like he used to sleep in that room, and he'd wake up and would have like claw marks on his leg. Cool. And he had seen like a demon at the end of his bed. And when he would walk into that,
for me, dog.
Yeah, when he would walk into that room, like it just felt different. Like there was like, just real quick, scariest experience I've had. I walked in that room because we wanted to play a video game. We were like I was trying to find Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Nice.
And he was like, "Oh, it's in the back room." And I was like, "I got this. I'm gonna go do it." So I walk back there, and there's all the boxes because no one goes in there because it is the demon room. And so I open up the box and I walk in, and I was like, "Hey, I know you don't like people being back here, but I just like I want to be in and out. I promise I'll take as little time as I can because I don't play."
Yeah.
And so I open up the box, and there's like a computer mouse, and I move it out of the way. I put it on top of another box, and I'm flipping through trying to find this game, and then the mouse flips upside down, and I was like, I'm sorry, I know I'm taking more time than I thought I would. Give me just a second, and then that mouse, the computer mouse, flies, no joke, like 3 feet and hits the door to the bedroom, and then I was like, fine.
Like telling you to get out.
Yeah. And I was like, fine. And so I walked out, and dude, it was like you would just feel. I've seen stuff in the house, but I've never had the experience of feeling anything in the woods. And I've spent a lot of time in the woods.
Yeah.
But it just feels like it's tied to homes.
Yeah.
Now I can never play Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 again.
I know, it's a real bummer. You know what I mean?
It ruined it.
Really sour.
Ruined it for me, man. Well, Cedric, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, we
great
appreciate it.
stories. We'd love to come out and meet you in person and
Yeah.
just hang out on your land and see if we can conjure up something cool. And
Oh, I just
try
realized
to-
he just reminded me of something. Before we go, I
Yeah.
do have video. Like there was times when I recorded and I always catch stuff. I do have a video. I'll send a clip of you guys
Oh, shoot.
about
Yeah.
it was related to demons, but same thing. A bunch of me and my family went out there one night. It was like 10 of us because they was like, well, we want to experience stuff too because it got so wild. And one of my cousins got scratched while he was in the house, like with 3 scratches on his back, and he was like, literally, like he's like something's burning me. I thought it was a red wasp or something.
God.
And I looked up his shirt, and on camera, you could see 3 scratches just appear on his like back.
Yo.
And after that, he got incredibly sick. He had to be hospitalized, and he had like almost died. Yeah, so some things may happen to you. I'm not responsible, guys. If you come on the way, no, just demons possessions. That's on you guys.
they usually go for this guy over here.
Yeah, I've already been freaking attached to stuff, and stuff already hates me. So.
Yeah, they don't like this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, thanks so much for
Yeah,
coming on.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thoroughly
you.
spooked. I'm glad I wore my brown pants tonight because,
Yeah.
man.
Oh man,
Yeah.
thank you guys for
Really
having me,
cool.
and it's a blast.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
it was a blast.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on. So yeah, that's gonna do it for it.
All right.
All right.
Outro.
Warren, sign us off.
Sign us off. You got it. Let's see. Ignore this. Dylan's pulling it up.
All right.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, please rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, or other your podcast app of choice. You can find us on Instagram at the Skullcrawlers, on Twitter at _Skullcrawlers. You can also find us on YouTube by searching for Skullcrawlers Movie Club or bit.ly/the Skullcrawlers. There you can find, or bit.ly/Skullcrawlers. You can find our shorts, other episodes of the podcast, behind the scenes, stuff like that. And Cedric, you got any plugs real quick? Where can they find you online?
Just search Chief Sweet, and you'll find me.
Search Chief Sweet. There you
Yes,
go.
sir. Great YouTube channel. He also made a short horror film a few years back, and it's good. So if you can find it in all of those YouTube channels you got, it's a good watch.
Yeah, and once again, outro. And as always, sleep with one eye open because you never know who's watching.
And
So,
thanks for wearing your brown pants.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.